What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Victor Chibai. I'm a third-year civil engineering student at the University of Pretoria, just making a few videos just to show people what the vibe of third-year civil engineering is and to share some tips about how I got here. So if you're new to this channel, do make yourself at home by subscribing and turning on your post notifications so that you know every time that I'm about. Also, remember, if you have anything that you want me to make a video about, just drop it in the comment section, because at the end of the day, I just want this channel to be for the people, by the people. Studying effectively is not a matter of chance, and there's actually scientifically proven methods that can make you study more effectively and save a lot of study time. But today I won't be going through those scientific methods because I'm no scientist, but what I will be doing is going through some methods that I've used in my 4.5 semesters at university and explaining some of the methods that worked and some of the ones that didn't. So first, let's go through some basic study methods, which are actually quite obvious in my opinion, but I'll go through them anyways. And these are scheduling your study time and studying in an appropriate place, okay? So the first one, scheduling your study time, is all about just knowing when you're going to study and when you're going to study what, and you shouldn't just do it as a freestyle, because I think if you have a few modules or something like that that aren't too demanding, it's something that you can do, but as things get more demanding and you have more stuff to do, it gets more difficult to just do things in their own time, because you start feeling like you actually never finish anything, and then you end up spending too much time on one thing and forgetting all the other ones, and then when things start going like that, it doesn't end well. And then secondly, choosing appropriate to study. You see, in my first year when I started at varsity, I would think that I could just study anyway, so I'll do things like taking a walk to the park and then chilling on the grass and try studying on the grass, or like if you have friends come over, you chill on your bed while they study at your desk or something like that. And at the time it seems like it's really working out, but it really isn't, because you're wasting so much time trying to get set up in these new environments, and also it's uncomfortable and unhealthy because you'll be arcing your back more and sitting in these awkward positions trying to figure out how you can study on a bed or on the grass or on the floor or something. So you should really try finding a proper study space and sticking to it. And then now going into some of the study methods that I used that I felt like were quite beneficial in my studying career, if you can even call it that. The first study method that we'll go into is taking notes, you see. So I'm just going to start this a little story of taking notes that didn't work for me, and then I'll go into a way that you could take notes that might work better. So I know that in my first year when I had NMC, I would try to take notes of literally the whole textbook. So basically I was rewriting the entire textbook and trying to take notes for that, because personally I found that I learned better when I write things down. So I don't really read the notes, but I learn better while writing them down. But the thing is, with modules like NMC, which are very theory-based, they have a lot of theory that's actually quite unnecessary. And then you end up spending a lot of time writing all that stuff down, and then you don't really understand the module in the end, you see. I would go through this whole thing of I write a whole chapter, and then I have no idea what they were talking about the whole time, or I can't even remember what was written on the last page because it's just so much content. So that's a way of taking notes that didn't really work. But then I think if you want to take notes, the best way of taking notes that I found personally is that in your classes and during your online classes, since we're online now, try taking notes during the class. Like, try getting the lecture slides and then taking notes on the lecture slides about what the lecturer is saying and adding to the notes that are on the slides, because that way you get to focus on what's important, because the lecturer is also focusing on what's important. And then when you now start taking your own notes, you know what to focus on, and when you start reading the textbook, you know what's important in the module and what's just additional information. And then number 2 is timing your studies. This is very linked to the whole scheduling thing, where you have to put down when you're going to study what, but timing your studies is more about don't overdo it, you see. Just be, like, if you don't have a test, maybe if you have a test and you're falling behind, then there's a bit of pressure to do things a bit more. But if you don't have a test or anything like that and you're just studying for your modules, don't overdo it. So try, like the same thing I was telling you about the notes, I'll tell myself I'm trying to finish an entire section, you see. And then this chapter is like 20 pages, so then I'm sitting there writing these notes for 20 pages about things I don't understand, but I'm spending this time writing this, and then it goes on for hours, and then eventually I'm not even processing what I'm writing. And so time your studies and tell yourself that I'm going to spend 2 hours on this module, and then I'll move on to the next one, then I'll move on to the next one, and don't spend too much time on one thing. This method has really helped me a lot, that it even takes away the pressure of trying to get things done, because all I told myself is that I have a certain amount of time to do this, so let me do it in the time I was given. Because there's even a law, I can't remember what the law is called, where it states that the mind will do a given task in the time given to it. So if you don't tell yourself that I'm going to do this task in 1 hour, you'll end up spending as much time as you gave to it. So if you go freestyle, you could spend an entire day doing one chapter of a module, and that just doesn't get you anywhere. And then The third method that I'm going to talk about today is practice, practice, practice. You see, especially for engineering, this is a very important study method because the more you practice and the more you do something, the better you'll understand the content, you see. So if we're talking theory-based modules, the only kind of practice I can suggest for theory-based modules is things like doing past papers, doing those multiple choices over and over, because they're actually quite repetitive, and the more you do it, you'll end up just starting getting used to the fact that this thing is this thing is like that, and this thing is like that. So try read it as much as you can. And another kind of practice that I did for theory-based modules was that I would write notes. You see, I don't know, I think it's just because my handwriting is bad or something like that, but I don't really read my own notes. So the only way I study is by writing notes. So I write the notes, and then when it's time to study for the exam, I don't read the notes I wrote, but I just write the notes again and again and again, but very summarized and getting more brief and everything, because I'm starting to understand the content better, but I keep writing these notes over and over and over again, and that's how I learn when it's theory-based. And then when it's practical-based modules or calculation-based modules, try to do as many calculations as possible. And the order in which that I'd say the importance of these calculations is that I think you should start by making sure you master the class examples first, because this is the basic way that the lecturers try to teach you the content. So if you don't understand the class examples, it'll be quite hard to start exploring different kinds of questions. So it's best that you master class examples first, because this is teaching you the content. Then once you've got the example, do the tutorial questions, you see. So any questions they tell you to do for the tutorials, do those questions and make sure you get them, because now this is them kind of exposing you to like a sneak peek of what the test will be, and then trying to check if you can understand this. And then in most cases, if you understand the tutorial questions, you'll ace the exams. So try and make sure that you get the tutorial questions, do the tutorial questions until you get them properly, like not looking at the memo and then trying to copy the memo and then saying, yeah, no, I get this, but try to do the tutorial questions on your own and getting the right answers. And then if you've got the tutorial questions in the bag, I think next step you can now start trying to look at some past papers, some past 2018, 2017, 2016 exam papers and semester test and class test papers, just to practice and see how they ask the questions in the exams, and see if you can do those as well, because in some cases it's quite repetitive, and if it's not repetitive, it's similar, like the questions are the same structure but different questions. So try to do the past papers and make sure that you get the past papers. That's once you've mastered class examples and tutorial questions, and you'll just see as you go, you'll realize that some things are easier than others, and just try to get a broad understanding of all the work by doing all these three different kinds of things: class examples, tutorial questions, and past papers. And then if you do have time, because they are also textbook questions, so in most of your textbooks you can do textbook questions, so if you do have time, it would be a good idea to now go trying those textbook questions, because there's quite a lot of them and it kind of needs you to understand the work so you can choose which questions to do, because some of the questions are a whole different kind of topic that's not really taught to you. So if you do have time and you've managed to do all these other kinds of questions, try to do the textbook questions as well, just to give yourself a better understanding of the content. Okay guys, so those were the 3 study methods plus a bonus 2 that have really helped me in my varsity career. And I feel like if you do try them, they could help you too. But the bottom line is that we are all different, and we'll all have different things that work for us in different situations. So what I'd suggest is that go use your own study methods and be intentional about your studying, so you understand what study methods you're using, and then see if that works for you, you see. And then as time goes, you'll slowly start learning which study methods work best for different kind of modules, and you'll just get better at it. And then also I suggest that you guys comment down below any study methods that you're using, and then maybe someone will see those and try them, and they might help them out, you see. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and I do hope that it helped you out. And comment down below if you have anything that you want me to post about next week, and peace.